electromagnetic field around a wire, and there's time and energy put out, and this is the way it works. But it happens to work even if there's just a block of matter sitting on a table, radiating out energy. And it's not like it's radioactive decay, but I'm assuming that dark energy does eventually cause the changes that do bring about radiation and degradation in that way. Also. You know, the Casimir effect. You have waves, the plates get close enough, the plates close. There's vacuum energy pushing. My idea is that it's pushed together. So in deep space, if there's two energy fields that are interacting with matter, here's your matter, the plates. Here's the energy pushing on them. Dark energy, not the same force, right? Two forces interacting. That where there's no matter and there's low matter density, you would have a separation force. So you could have the universe form as a large space, bigger than the observable universe, atoms, planets, solar systems, galaxies forming because of the levels of energy were high enough to produce that matter and combined it. The ratio would be the two energy fields and their frequencies that are driving each other to do these things. And these forces produce reality in an energy field. Matter and energy are exactly the same. This is a better explanation of magnetism, the Casimir effect, of energy interacting with each other than a Big Bang and a singularity. It produces an idea that matter is just a chunk. It's solid, it's long-lasting, and it does certain things. This gives a different perspective on what you're actually looking at. Like you're looking at raw energy. And I'll say a funny thing, right? A permanent magnet. What's the difference? It's like a lobster. It's like water around a lobster boiling in a pot. And you could throw in some corn cobs too in there. I mean, it seems to be like the force that moves matter into the shape that it is. And just as this food is being boiled in the water, matter is changing and forming and moving through time entangled. And one of the observations to sort of prove this is magnetism and gravity. The space-time that you see bent around the sun, around the solar system, around the galaxy, around an atom. I think they're all related, that there is actually dark energy and maybe dark matter in an atom because there's insufficient mass when you break it. I think that there's carrier waves or frequency that influences matter moving through time, and that is shown by light only moving at the speed that it does because it's picked up by a carrier wave, and that's how fast the carrier wave moves. The reason why in the double slit experiment that you have like the dispersion pattern is because of carrier waves in front and in back of the slit. And when you have a collapse of this waveform, it's usually because you've set up electromagnetic fields in a sensor and you're trying to observe dark energy, which is kind of like half light, like the wave part, the duality part, and a photon. These are two separate things, but you can't really directly observe the waves. Like you can see where the photon goes, but you can't really understand the wave part because I believe that it's made of dark energy. And without the two parts working together, you can't have time, you can't have space, time, you can't have entanglement where matter would move through different events and we couldn't live and have a life where we had memories of the past to the future if there wasn't this interaction. And the Big Bang doesn't show that. It doesn't. It produces a reality in which matter is separated from the forces that interact with it. So magnetism seems to show a raw power that's even in something that isn't being influenced by any other type of matter, but is surrounded by an aura that is roaring with power that you can measure and feel but is unobservable. And just like in an atom, when you break it, there's nothing that adds up to the weight of the atom before it was broken. The particles that come out are much less in mass. That there's something that's missing. And I think that the conclusion would be that dark energy, it would be like looking at your outside self in a mirror, with a mirror. Matter, energy, and dark energy are combined fields. So when you look at it, you're looking at the matter part. But the dark energy part is very much still part of you. It's very much part of who we are. And it is the reason why we move through time, and it's the power source possibly, the interaction of the two fields. And I think that this is where the confusion comes. You're trying to just stare at one part. But how does it actually have that power? You know, you're saying it's an observation, but it's power. It keeps coming. It doesn't stop, right? And things are changing, and why? Because there's an interaction between what matter is and something else, because how could it not change? It's like epoxy, or the boiling of water with something inside of it that's forcing a change on what is being affected. Also, matter, nothing to do with being solid. It doesn't. It's more space and more energy than anything else. It's just pure energy. Don't think of it that way anymore. No matter how far in the observable universe or the non-observable universe, if matter's there, it's in the same field. It's the same energy field that we're all in, right? And it just doesn't seem like it originated from one point. It seems more or less that you have to have two parts, and you have to have this interaction in order to produce the reality that we're in. Not just say that things are properties, like light moves at this speed because it's a property. No, because there's an interaction between something else. And we keep talking about 95% of what we don't see in the universe as we don't know dark energy. But sooner or later, it will be put together that this reality is basically like living in an energy field. It is raw energy interacting with each other. There's a ratio between both parts, and it's like sand in the hourglass. But anyway, magnetism, I think, is a very good clue to show that there's forces acting on us that move us through time, as epoxy would change the structure to become harder from soft fluid. It's these interactions that are the important thing, and magnetism positively shows, because it does not stop. It keeps coming, and from potentially nowhere. It's just there for no reason at all, with a lot of energy that never seems to stop. And in my mind, that means that there's a power source that we don't know about that's influencing everything. And this is one part of it that shows this, just as the double slit shows another, and the Casimir effect, that matter is being